A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Mark, chapter 7, verses 1 to 8, 14 to 15, and 21 to 23. Passage taken from the Message version of the Bible. The Pharisees, along with some religious scholars who had come from Jerusalem, gathered around him. They noticed that some of his disciples were in being careful with ritual washings before meals. The Pharisees, Jews in general, in fact, would never eat a meal without going through the motions of a ritual hand washing, with an especially vigorous scrubbing if they had just come from the market. To say nothing of the scourgings they would give jugs and pots and pans. The Pharisees and religious scholars asked, "Why do your disciples flout the rules, showing up at meals without washing their hands?" Jesus answered, "Isaiah was right about frauds like you. Hit the bull's eye, in fact. These people make a big show of saying the right thing, but their heart is not in it. They act like they are worshiping me, but they don't mean it. They just use me as a cover for teaching whatever suits their fancy, ditching God's command and taking up the latest farce." Jesus called the crowd together again and said, "Listen now, all of you. Take this to heart. It is not what you swallow that pollutes your life. It is what you vomit that's the real pollution." He went on, "It is what comes out of a person that pollutes. Obscenities, lusts, theft, murders, adulteries, greed, depravity, deceptive dealings, carousing, mean looks, slander, arrogance, foolishness. All these are vomit from the heart. There is the source of your pollution." The Gospel of the Lord. Reflections on the Gospel according to St. Mark, chapter 7, verses 1 to 8, 14 and 15, and 21 to 23. The evangelist Mark, who writes for an audience in Rome that did not know the customs of the Jews, now feels the need to explain to his readers this obsession of the Jews with the ritual purifications. The Jews paid great attention to the meticulous execution of the ritual washings and insisted on its scrupulous execution, but they forgot the meaning of the rite itself and lost its value. We must be careful also about these scrupulously executed rites in our liturgical celebrations, because if their meaning is forgotten, they can be dangerous. The Jews felt satisfied when they went through the rite of purification, although the value of this rite, the rite's memory, was lost. Their original intention was to remind the people of God to be thankful to God for His providential care. A rite of purification ended with a beautiful prayer of thanksgiving. But as the ages passed, the scribes and the Pharisees interpreted the laws to benefit their interests. Instead of making it as an opportunity to thank God, it was presented as an obligation, failure of which amounted to breaking the law. Similar interpretations and obligatory rituals also happen to us. Where there is true faith that comes from genuine love, nothing needs to be imposed as obligatory. When we try to fulfill what is obligatory in the church, our actions are based on the rules and regulations and not based on love. Our so-called days of obligation in the church is an example. Are we participating in the Sunday liturgy to fulfill an obligation, or because of our love for the Lord and love for our community? When our objective is only to meet the obligations, we are guided by fear and not by love. When the tradition is stripped of meaning, it becomes a meaningless gesture. The Pharisees became slaves of their religious traditions, and not even Jesus was able to set them free. And Jesus calls them hypocrites. For the Pharisee, the pure hands were those that performed the ritual to its perfection. But for Jesus, the pure hands are those that did the works of love. It is the works of charity that would purify our hands. We should pay attention not to become slaves to the traditions while living our liturgical life in faith. Another example, there are people who are afraid to take communion in the hands because they think that their hands are impure. What makes one believe that our tongue that speaks all the wrongs about our brethren are purer and better than our hands? What does it mean for you to participate in the liturgical life of the community? Are you participating on the Sunday Mass as an obligation, out of fear of punishment,